Lorraine and Dr. Jackson, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thanks for having us, Luke.
Thank you.
Definitely. Lorraine, just tell listeners and viewers just a little bit about yourself and how you got started with Retainers for Life.
Sure. So I'm the COO at Retainers for Life, and I get to give away my age right now because I'm 32 years in the orthodontic industry. Dr. Jackson reached out to me probably about 4.5 years ago and had introduced Retainers for Life and the business model to me. It just was so unusual and so different, and I certainly was very excited about sort of creating a new company with a business model that had not been done before. And so I said yes and jumped in with both feet.
Awesome. And Dr. Jackson, how about you? Just a brief introduction and kind of how all this got started.
Dr. Amy Jackson. I am a full-time practicing orthodontist in Texas, and I've been practicing for the better part of 20 years. And really, I saw firsthand the problem and the friction of replacing retainers inside my practice. And when I had a minute to step back and look at that, I really decided that I wanted to tackle that pain point for the patient, which would hopefully eliminate that pain point for the practice and the doctor as well. And so that's how Retainers for Life was born. I couldn't be prouder of the team that I have and how far we've come and the innovation that we're pushing into the industry. And so that's why I'm just excited to be with you today to kind of talk a little bit about that journey and hopefully help some of your clients along the way.
To go all the way back to the beginning, how did Retainers for Life come into existence?
It really came from a need that I saw inside my practice, right? As all of us on the call today, we wear a couple hats. We're business people, but we're also parents. And I think for me, I saw this struggle or this frustration or this friction when a patient would lose their retainer between the patient and the parent, right? We really didn't have a good solution to eliminate that friction. And so that was my goal, is to try to eliminate this problem that I saw within my practice. I would spend 2-3 years, sometimes even more, establishing a great relationship with a parent and a family, only to see that break down the first time they lost their first retainer. And oftentimes patients were losing more than one. So it really, replacing retainers across the industry, not just in my office, was a problem. And so I really took a step back to look at the problem and put my thinking cap on and figure out a way that I could solve this for the patient, patient-centered. And then if there was something that I could solve for myself and for orthodontists, that would be great too. And so putting on that parent hat and trying to solve that for the patient, I created a system whereby the patients didn't have to come back in for a new impression after the teeth have already shifted, and they didn't have to pay full price for a replacement retainer. So that's kind of where I started. Like, can I make this more economical for the families to replace and really try to eliminate that friction? And luckily, at the time that I started looking at the problem, we had the technology that we could digitally capture their teeth and store that. And then we could also marry that with 3D printing. So again, no longer did the patient have to come in and take an impression and pour the model and break the model when the retainer was made. I was able to marry the technology that was on the market with the solution that I was trying to create. And then what happened is when I rolled it out in my practice, I was blown away by the amount of adoption of the membership, the retainer replacement program that I'd created. And once I saw the desire and the need and the magnitude of adoption inside my practice, I thought, whoa, this is something that I want to share with my colleagues. And that's kind of how it was born.
With rolling it out in your practice, did you have any vision of like a larger company, or were you strictly trying to solve a pain point in your practice for your patients?
I was just trying to solve a pain point for patients inside my practice.
Wow. So once you started to obviously think like, hey, I think I'm onto something to kind of share in the industry. A lot of people, you know, I've even had ideas where you come up with the idea and it's super cool, but then you're like, oh, that'll never happen, or I can't do it. And so like, how'd you make that leap to actually move into a place where it was scalable?
Some of it is accidental, some of it is timing. The story is probably very familiar where I sat down with another like-minded entrepreneur, and on a paper napkin, we're like, this is where we can take this thing. And I thought, yes, this is amazing. And then really just one foot in front of the other, right? We bootstrapped, and we asked people to share a booth at the AAO, and I had the CEO of a big orthodontic company come to me and say, "This idea is brilliant. I'm trying to increase the work that my lab is putting out. How about we partner and you can use my salespeople?" And that worked for a hot minute until it didn't, you know. But it was really just one foot in front of the other. I think the key, to be honest, and I'm sure you've seen this happen inside of orthodontic practices as well, is it's when I got the right people on the right seat on the bus inside of Retainers for Life that I really saw the magic happen.
So what did that look like? Because like I know even for us, it was a similar story where we started, actually, I think today is our 9th anniversary. I didn't know that until Anastasia posted in Slack. I'm like, oh yeah.
Happy
I knew it was
anniversary.
like,
You got to celebrate.
yeah, exactly. But, you know, for a long time, and most, you know, startups fail. Like, I think it's over like a decade, 60-70% of startups end up failing by that point, and a lot of them fail in the first year. And so when we got started in 2014, we thought we would be just a little agency serving local clients in Pensacola, Florida, surrounding areas where we're located. And we were doing everything. And I'm sure you can kind of relate. You know, I know a lot of orthodontists, and they're trying to do everything inside the practice. It was when we started to figure out, hey, we can't do everything, even though we may think we can or think we have all these skills. There's just, it's not possible. And so when you actually want to grow, you have to have the right people in the right seats. And you know, it's kind of like going through a lot of mistakes and failures to figure that out. So for us, obviously, you know, COVID was massive for us in a good way, because it allowed us to kind of step back. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these things that we had great ideas on and we didn't have the time to implement, well, now we had all day because everything was shut down. And so we were able to make like giant steps forward within the company. Then we launched a specific offer for orthodontists during that time frame, and just really started to scale and really started to understand, here's how we attract talent, here's how we're going to train talent, here's how we're going to mentor people and create a vision for them within the, and obviously we're still learning a lot, but to give you guys an idea, we went from probably about 10 people to about 52 people today in 3 years. And so, you know, we've had to figure a lot out, make a lot of mistakes along the way, but it's amazing what can happen, because now it's like, oh, well, we have 52 people spending all day on what we do versus 10 people. And so, you know, you can just create so much momentum. And so for you, like figuring that out and starting to kind of spread your wings a little bit, what did that look like for Retainers for Life?
I think, you know, what you're describing is what I would call the big financial risk that you take, right? So you have to sit down and be willing to say, and I did, you know, I will work for this company for free for 3 years because I know I need to plug people in where my holes are, right? So I know what my weaknesses are. And one of that is time. You know, I don't have time to do everything, and I shouldn't be wearing every hat, because if I can pass these hats along to other people who that's all they do every day, all day long, the company is going to be in a better position. So, you know, yes, I'm spending a lot of time on the company, but I'm doing it because I believe in the vision. I believe in where we're going. I believe it's the best thing for patients. And I've seen how it eliminates work for the staff and eliminates headaches for the doctors. And so I think once you have that belief, like, look, I'm doing something really good. I'm giving back to patients. I'm giving back to the industry. And I need to sacrifice whatever it takes to plug people in to make it happen. And I think once I switched to that mindset, I've seen it grow. Still at a slower pace than I would like to see. You know, I want to double every year
Yeah.
and then triple and then quadruple. Again, because I believe I believe it should be the industry standard. We used to do retainers this old way, but that is no longer the way. Like, let's catch up with the digital world that our patients and our clients live in. I mean, I'm sure you could say the same thing, but I don't want to go back to a pre-Amazon world, to a pre-Uber world, to a pre-Instacart world. Patients don't want to go back to the way that we were delivering retainers and replacing them and the cost of them. I truly believe that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because orthodontics as a whole is facing this in so many different areas, you know, of being used to doing things a certain way, and now technology is demanding change. Not only technology, but what you're talking about, consumer behavior. We want things now, you know what I mean? And so we try and coach people and work with offices to really plug the leaks on the front end before they start marketing. Otherwise, marketing is just going to be a waste of money. So that's why we harp on things like, hey, how quickly are you getting back to patients? How many times are you following up with patients? Because it's like, I get phone calls. I checked my phone today. I had like 15 missed calls. I didn't call anybody back. I deleted most of the voicemails. I think I had 2 or 3 text messages. I'm like, who is this? And a lot of times offices and small businesses, they don't think that way. It's like, well, I reached out one time. They should have called me back. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. And then when we start to explain it to them, they're like, oh, yeah, that's what I do. That's how I behave too.
Yeah.
And so there's all these kind of epiphanies and just understanding how consumers actually behave, putting yourself in the shoes of the consumer. I'm kind of curious from your standpoint and what you started to see in your practice, and then now what you've started to see with other practices being very successful with retainers for life. What's that look like? How are you having to kind of educate the practices or identify, here's how consumers do behave and here's the better way? What's that look like specifically?
Yeah, I think the key is you have to meet the consumer where they are, right? And if you're really doing what's best for the patient, everything just falls into place, right? Patient first. If you're taking care of the patient, your business is going to be successful, your business is going to thrive. I think for us as orthodontists, is the industry is changing so rapidly. Sometimes it feels stressful to even keep up with what's happening. But I think there are a lot of opportunities there, right? I see so many things that we still do the old way that I'm like, oh, somebody's got to create a company doing this, and somebody's got to create a company doing this, and let's create an incubator because I really like my plate is full. But there are so many things that we can do so much better. And I think the other thing is changing the mindset of not only the doctor, but the team members, that we're not selling. This is not selling something. We're not trying to sell something to a patient or like get one over on them. We're healthcare providers, providing a service for them that they came to us and asked for, right? And once they've made the investment in their beautiful smile, if we truly care about them, and you work with hundreds of orthodontists, caring people, like good human beings, they do care about their patients. And if I'm caring about you, then I want you to have this smile protection plan because it is the best thing for you long term. And I think when you come from that place, then it's not sales. It's not I'm bothering them. It's, hey, let me help you get started because you came in, and I want to help you. You know, I was talking to my TCs the other day about trying to capture more adult patients that are in our office with their kids being treated, but they're not in our chair. And one of the things that I was talking to them about is really just the language that they use. This is not a sale. You take a scan, we're going to make you complimentary retainers because of the benefits for it. And when you get that digital scan and you see that one tooth that bothers them, you don't have to point it out or point out that their bite is terrible and they have a large overjet, but be like, hey, have you ever noticed that this one tooth is rotated a little bit? That's all you say. That's all you say. And they're either going to say, yeah, it bothers me every time I brush my teeth in the morning or every time I do a Zoom call, or no, they're going to be like, I don't want to talk about that. Fine. talk about something different, you know? So I think that's the key. What I really love that you guys do, which I think is brilliant, is beacon. Am
Yeah.
I calling it the right term?
It's practice beacon. Yeah.
Practice
Yep.
beacon. I think it's fabulous, right? If I were a doctor, I'd be salivating to have that on my computer just to see what's happening with your business, right? All those hundreds of thousands of dollars just sitting out there ready for somebody to grab it. Those patients walked in your door and wanted treatment. They took time away from work and their family and to invest in themselves. And I think you have an obligation as an orthodontist to follow up with them.
Really, why we created the software is as we started to grow, there were more and more practices who kept saying, hey, I'm not seeing the results that these other practices are seeing. And we would look at the stats. And back then, we only had like marketing stats to look at. So it's like clicks and, you know, you had X amount of phone calls and X amount of form submissions. And they're like, well, I don't know what happened to those. And we're like, well, we don't know. Like, we don't track it. We just send you, you know,
Right.
all this stuff with ads and websites and things like that. And so we're like, hey, there's a better way, just like you identified in your practice with Retainers for Life. Hey, there's a better way. What if we could track every single person that opts in? And then once we started to do that, then we started to identify so many other issues like, oh, you're not calling them, you're not texting them. We'll scroll through accounts and literally prospective patients are texting saying like, hey, yeah, I want to come in. I want to claim this offer. Nobody's getting back to them. So now we're even beta testing a follow-up team who's calling the leads, nurturing the leads, because it is a lot of busy work if you want to grow beyond the average practice,
Yeah.
you know, because there's so many options now. There's dentist offering, you know, clear aligners, Invisalign, there's DIYers. And so how do you make patients aware not only are we a better option, and that's not just in the practice, that's like showing them with customer service,
Right.
you know, and wowing them. So we look at companies like Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, Ritz-Carlton, and like, hey, how can we learn from the people in the industry who actually wow people and apply that to orthodontics? Because I'll ask orthodontists all the time, like, when's the last time you listened to a new patient phone call? They're like, oh, never. Like, and you're like, okay, well, how do you think that goes? Well, they call people back, or yeah, they get them scheduled, or, and then once we start to look at that, or even like abandon rate, and, you know, we'll say, hey, did you know you're missing 25% of your phone calls?
Right.
It's like just things, you know, once you start to inspect things, it really can be surprising of how much better you can make it. Yeah, it goes back to your point of like, how can you just make the most of every opportunity? And I think that's what we're trying to do, you know?
Yeah, for sure. What gets measured gets managed, right?
Exactly. Hey, thanks for listening. If you're an orthodontist or dentist who would like a structured course to train your scheduling team, go ahead and click and check it out. We've basically got everything you need, and we'll also send you this book to go along with the course. But it's a complete course that goes through how to approach the scheduling or front desk role, scripts that are needed, processes that are needed, and we've really been able to extract that from the top 1% of orthodontic practices in the nation. So hope to see you in the course. Thanks so much for watching. Most orthodontists, like, and I get it because I used to be like this, they don't even have a plan. There's no target. It's like, we're going to show up, we're going to put out fires, and we're going to try and serve patients. And I get it, but there's a way better way. And it really starts with a plan and a strategy. That's what we encourage people to do even before they work with us. Like, hey, let's get a plan and a strategy in place, because then it's easy to implement HIP.
Yeah.
It's easy to implement Practice Beacon. It's easy to implement Retainers for Life. But when everything's like put out a fire, it's not easy to do anything.
I couldn't agree more with you. Look, in fact, that's what Amy and I have been talking about over the past probably 4 months, is ways for these doctors to implement Retainers for Life inside their practice, and for it to be a no-brainer, right, Amy? Like, it just comes in and we take care of it. But one of the things that we had been talking about is very similar to what you're doing with Practice Beacon, which is introducing us to one of the patients and then allowing us to do the work, allowing us to do the touches, whether it be fun or educational, or hey, you're closing in on the end of treatment. You're going to need a system in place to be able to get affordable replacement retainers. So that just sort of, you're singing my song there, because that's something that we implemented recently where we're really seeing success, and the doctor's able to sort of sit back and enjoy that because we sort of take care of it for him.
That's a great idea.
And initially, when we talk to doctors, they're like, okay, this makes all the sense in the world, but I got to get my team on board, right? And it seems like one more thing, but it's actually the opposite. It's one less thing. Like, we're doing the retainers for you. We're replacing them for you. We're doing all the work for you. We're troubleshooting. We're talking to the patient if it doesn't fit right. We're helping them virtually. We're getting virtual images from them. We're telling them when they need a new scan because the retainer they order won't fit. And so I think when they get that, they're like, oh, yes. And you're going to pay me to take the scans? Ah, okay, I get it.
That's always that light bulb moment where, and I think one of the exciting things for me was when Amy reached out to me, and I'm going to say that was probably what, 4 or 5 years ago, and sort of pitched the business model to me. I had just read the book The Blue Ocean. I don't know if you guys,
Yeah.
it's an amazing book, and it's all about looking at your industry and saying, where is there a part of the industry that's not being served? And I had been sort of racking my brain to think, where is that in orthodontics? You know, brackets, bands, wires, tubes. I mean, it's a saturated industry. Where is not being served? So when Amy approached me and said, "Hey, I've got this idea that's working really great in my practice, where the orthodontist can continue to have a revenue flow, but it's actually after orthodontic treatment," and I was like, oh, that's a blue ocean. So it's a very different business model. So when we're talking to orthodontists, it takes them a while to sort of go, oh wait, you're paying me, so I don't have that to do. And so it's sort of a very different model than what the orthodontists are used to, sort of taking their checkbook out or taking their credit card out of their wallet and exchanging money. And it's the very opposite of what happens. And that's sort of what inspired me to sort of jump on board with Amy's brilliant idea and commercialize it and make it available to everybody. So I think that's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, and I'll dovetail on the last thing that you were talking about, Luke, about adult patients, and that is Shannon Patterson. I was listening to her speak the other day, and she said that even though we're a retainer company, there is human nature is involved, right? At some point, patients don't replace the retainers or they just stop wearing them, right? It's like getting on a diet. It's great for a while, and then everybody at some point
Yeah.
stops eating perfectly clean. The statistic was that 75% of patients will relapse. So what that means for all of your practices, all of my colleagues, is there's a huge opportunity there, right? And in the past, the old way of doing things is we would do the last retainer check with the patient, and then we drop kick them out the door, and we're like, good luck. Only call us if you really need something. What we're trying to do, again, we want to be the industry standard for replacement retainers. But what we're also trying to do is create an alumni of your practice, create an extension of that relationship with the patient that you treated, so that when that 75% of those patients need retreatment, they think of you and we drive them back to your practice. Huge opportunity to treat adults there. And if you catch them early enough, it's simple treatment, right? A couple of aligners and here's your bill and I'll see you twice. And then when you need me again, I'll be here.
So like retainers for life, really you're creating patients for life with this model.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's crazy to look at how many retreats end up in a different office. Like people I talk to, I just got out of aligners. I wasn't a good patient, by the way, but
Hey,
made some
repeat
improvements.
patients are always good patients.
Yeah, made some improvements, but obviously I got treated at a different orthodontist as an adult than when I had braces when I was, 15, 16, 17. Most of the adults I talk to, that is normal. They're like, oh, yeah, and yeah, some relocate, but some don't. Like I live in the same town. And they're like, yeah, I tried aligners with the dentist and now I'm trying, orthodontics. Maybe I got braces, maybe I got in brace, but it's typically different. And then you see, DIYers where you can go online and just opt in and things get mailed to your door. Obviously, largely that can be a disaster without an actual orthodontist. But
Right.
my point is, and I think, the point you're making is you lose the ability to do that when you lose touch with the person, and you guys are able to stay in front, keep that relationship, and just point them right back into the same practice.
Yep. Yep.
So that's amazing.
It's almost like a tether, right? It's the tether
Mm-hmm.
because the first people to know that your teeth have shifted is the company that supplied the retainer that when you put it in your mouth, you're like, oh, wait a minute, why does this not fit? And so that ultimately is a call to us. And then we have customer service that is able to sort of determine why that's not, why it's happening and say, oh, okay, sounds like you've had a little bit of shifting. Let me reach out to your orthodontist and get you circled back to that particular orthodontist. So it's the sort of tether. And that
Mm.
works perfectly. And the patients feel taken care of. They feel like they're not frightened to go back into the orthodontist or embarrassed to go back to the orthodontist. This is just sort of part of the plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
been working. Yeah.
I mean, another interesting statistic is that 80% of customers of these direct to consumer companies are relapse patients,
Hmm.
right? And so for me, I'm looking at these direct to consumer aligner companies. I'm like, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing now? And let me take a little bit of this and let me take a little bit of that. Because there are some things that they're doing right.
Yeah,
Care out
for
of the
sure.
hands of an orthodontist is scary and can be harmful and detrimental to the patient. But at the end of the day, they're speaking to something that consumers are demanding. And
Hmm.
so we as orthodontists really need to have our ear on the railway, and we need to be listening to what the consumer is saying and also watching what these direct to consumer aligner companies are doing, because they've got very expensive people on the payroll doing some really interesting and creative things, and I want to learn from them. I want to learn from their mistakes, but also the things that they're doing right.
Again, and I have this book. I'll send it to both of you if you want. I don't think maybe you have read it, but I just released it a couple months ago. I wrote this book out of a place of just having kind of so much pain for certain orthodontists that we talk to that we can't help. It's like, man, if you could just like get this one thing, if I could
Yeah.
just get you over this to this one place, you could just grow like crazy and have the practice that you want to have. But so many times, and what I talk about in this book is orthodontists or business owners as a whole, and this is why they stay stuck. They can be trained or for some reason have the thinking, and we're all selfish, so I get it, but have the thinking of they need to make it easy for me. So patients need to bring me, all the documentation from the dentist, and heaven forbid if they're late for their appointment or they no show. If they no show, they need to have a credit card on file because I'll never, and there's all these things. And then you get, more of your peers talking about it and the industry talking about it. And you're like, we're on this, just wrong course, really, if you want to serve more people. And the doctors who do really well with us, and a lot of the doctors that I interview, they've really taken more of a servant type of role of like, hey, we're just going to try and serve people. Like you said, meet them where they're at. We're not going to charge people who no show. We're going to put a better system in place to prevent that from happening before their appointment, just ways to make it easier for the patient. I had a doctor on in Salem a couple months ago, and she put it as, we make the patient the star of the show. The orthodontist is not the star. So like I'm going to put my ego aside and like the patient is the star. How am I going to make it easy? How is my team going to make it easy? And I think that's what you are doing with your company. You're making it easy for orthodontists, you're making it easy for their team, and you're making it easy for the patient. And when we do that and look at whatever vertical through that lens, you're probably going to grow because that's what people want, you know? And that's these DIYers, they're making it so easy to say yes on the back end.
Yes.
Maybe it's not great, but that's why they were able to grow.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I definitely need a copy of the book. And what's the title of the book?
It is Master Your Mindset.
Okay, I love it.
So, yeah.
Well, I tell my team, and my team is amazing. Like my practice would not be what it is without the amazing team that I have around me. They're just they are servants of the patient. You know, they're asking me, "Hey, can I get you lunch? Is there anything you need? Can I get you coffee?" They were always catering to me when I started practice, which is nice, but I had to remind them at one point that I sign the paycheck, but you know who pays your paycheck? The patients. And I want you
Mm.
guys to treat the patients, take care of the patients the way you take care of me, because they are the ones paying your salary. And it's the truth. I mean, I just write, I'm the funnel. I'm in the middle of the
Yeah.
funnel, but the patients are paying their salaries. And I think when they get that, it's like, okay. And as I tell them too, if you take care of the patients, everything else will take care of itself. We will meet our goals. I will be happy. Things will be more copacetic. Take care of the patients, and everything else will take care of itself.
Absolutely. So I know some people are listening or watching and they're thinking, okay, I understand the concepts, but practically, how's this work? So let's say I were an orthodontist. I was saying, hey, I'm ready. Like, what does onboarding look like? And then maybe you can share some of the practices who have been really successful with you guys. What's that look like? And how do you guys measure success?
Well, that's a great question. It's interesting because recently we did what we called a successful practice avatar with retainers for life. And just a few of the points on there, we made it very black and white now that we've been doing this for a while. So unsuccessful and successful. And one of the keys is just an engaged doctor. So it's all from the top down. So a doctor that understands what we're doing and the importance of it inside his practice, not only to perhaps his income, but also to the practice and to the patients. And just generally speaking, that funnels down to everything else that happens. So that's, we have a very clear avatar of sort of practices that are successful and practices that aren't. But I think that now that we've been doing it for a number of years, we have found that these practices are soaring, and the memberships that are coming through are the ladies that are inside the practice that are supported by the doctor, believe in what we're doing. And I always thought it was a fun story when Amy approached me a few years ago to start doing this. I happened to be in the gym that morning working out, and I could hear a lady across the gym talking about the orthodontist across the street. And she said, Johnny lost his retainer. I can't believe it. And being just so incredibly upset about it. And can you believe the name of this orthodontist across the street? She wants to charge me $250. Like, can you believe I've already paid her $6,000? And I remember thinking as I was working out in the gym, I was like, the timing of Amy asking me, let's do this together. And then hearing this just across the gym, it was sort of like serendipity. And that was the moment that I realized that moms need this. And I think, when we're talking about the avatar, when the staff start to understand what moms need and want it, it's just the difference between night and day in the success of these practices.
Yeah, I have a similar story. And then, Luke, I'll tell you the way that I am presenting it in my practice.
Yeah.
Every practice is very unique that partners with Retainers for Life, and that's really the core of who we are. We're not a cookie cutter retainer. We are not a cookie cutter. This is how you have to present it. We have best practices, and we want our doctors to listen to what our top tier practices are doing. But we also want it to fit seamlessly into the systems that you already have integrated in your practice. And so we know that every practice has a unique fingerprint, a unique DNA, and we want to be sure that we make it easy to weave into that. So that is important. For me, my story was my son's best friend had done phase one with me and was in retainers, came in for his first retainer check, and the weekend before, I had been at his birthday party. And he gets into the chair, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna say his name just so you don't have to cut this out for HIPAA reasons, but my son's best friend, hey, where's your retainer? Let me check the fit of it. And he looks at his mom sideways and like, I don't know where it is. And she's looks at him so frustrated. She's like, well, you're gonna have to use your birthday money to buy a new one. And I'm like, oh, this
Wow.
is terrible. There has to be a better way, and I'm going to find it. And that was really kind of my aha moment, flag in the dirt that I'm going to do something about this. I have been through many different versions in the practice, and luckily, the Retainers for Life partners get to benefit from that because I've made a lot of mistakes. I was first doing a membership, and then I would replace the retainers for free, and just some really things that didn't work well. What I'm doing currently is I will introduce it. Well, there's a video that goes to the patient 24 hours before their new patient consultation. And that's for two reasons. The first is a drip campaign to introduce a couple things that I want them to hear, which is about this smile protection plan. So it's not new to them. I want to remind them that we're going to be prepared to get them started or do their first step that day. I want to remind them that I've set aside an hour of my time to be with them. And the last objective is to help minimize those no-shows, right? So they get that video.
Mhm.
And so when they come into my practice, it's not like they've never heard of this smile protection plan or Retainers for Life. They've already been introduced to it. And then very simple, in the new patient exam, I just say, I go through all the pertinent information. This is how long you're going to be in treatment. This is how this is treatment that I would recommend. These are the tools that we can use. I'm going to ask you to opt in to our smile protection plan. So that way, when you need to replace your retainer, which you will, you can go online with just a few clicks of a mouse, and that retainer will be shipped directly to you. I stand up, I walk out of the office, and I let my treatment coordinator wrap everything else up. In an ideal world, that's how I think. Again, I think it should be the standard of care. This is just part of our financial contract because we care about you long after you're out of braces. And this is the way that you can best financially protect yourself against, the investment that you made in your beautiful smile. So we do that. Some patients will ask, hey, can I pay for it later? Not a problem. Our patient is always in the driver's seat, right? What they want, they get. And then what we do now is I do a D-band consult, which is fairly new. I'm a year and a half into doing D-band consult. But what I like about the D-band consult is a couple things. The first is it gives me another opportunity to start their membership with Retainers for Life. It gives me an opportunity to present to them additional upgrade options like bleaching or whatever else that, gingival revisions or whatever else your practice is offering. But the other thing that I like about it is it's a private conversation face to face where we talk about the journey to your beautiful smile. We answer any questions that you might have about post-orthodontic care, but also the financial piece where if they still have a balance, we have some things that we do creatively to talk to them about that. So that's been a really good thing. The hardest thing about doing the post-treatment wrap-up is what we call it, is finding the time in our schedule and the person that can
Mhm.
segregate that time to have that one-on-one with the parent.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. That makes complete sense. Is there anything that we have not talked about that you both would like to touch on?
The hardest thing for the doctor to understand is they're outsourcing their retention, but they're not outsourcing the revenue. And so it
Hmm.
takes them a while to realize that it doesn't cost anything. And that's what was really exciting about Amy's business model is I don't know of anybody else doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody else that has thought through a business model that puts the orthodontist in the seat and allows them to drive and choose the retainer and choose how they want to have retainers for life implemented inside their practice, because not all the practices are doing it the same way as Amy. They're all doing it a little bit differently, but at the same time, they're not giving away revenue. They're actually increasing revenue, but putting a higher paying patient in the chair. For me, that's when I'm talking to orthodontists, it's the hardest part for them to comprehend that this has been thought up by one of them. And there's no other company out there doing a similar business model than that. And that, for me, is what made it really exciting.
I mean, do you ever have any orthodontist say or kind of think maybe that sounds too good to be true, and you kind of have to break it down practically, like how it works for them to kind of, and I say that because there's so many people trying to sell to orthodontists that a lot of times that wall's up and they're not even taking the time to fully think through what you're saying. I know that happens with us all the time. Like we get bucketed in, oh, you're just another marketing company, I'm good. I'm like, no, like let's have a real conversation and kind of talk through how we approach it completely differently.
I think that's the hardest part of our marketing is there's so many wins. There is the win of the orthodontist. There is the win of the clinical staff because they have reduced workload. There is the win of that sort of extra bonus that we pay to the staff. There is a win to the patient. There is it's win, 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 win. For me, the most difficult part is putting that together in a very simple story, and marketing that so that people go, oh, that's how it works. So many times we would talk to someone and they say, I've heard of you guys before, but I never knew that. And I thought, oh my gosh, I feel like I've said that 10 billion times in 10 different ways, right? So for me, getting that, it is a very, so unusual and so different, that I do think that most people say, is it too good to be true? But at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding. And that's the type of marketing that we've started doing, which is the success stories. The stories of guys that are doing this over and over and over again and say, oh, wow, that's real. But again, it's thought up by one of them. So I think it's not thought up by some corporate guy somewhere that's trying to figure out how can we make lots of money with this company. It was thought up from the heart and from the orthodontist perspective.
I think for me, I get a lot of, oh, well, I'm gonna try to do my own plan, and then a year or two later, I'm like, how's your plan going? Oh yeah, I got busy doing other things. I never got around to doing it. And Lorraine can attest to the fact that it sounds easy to create this type of program in your practice, but the day we get a retainer order, the retainer is going out the door of the lab and going directly to the dorm room or the home or wherever the patient is. That is not easy to do inside your practice. And the other thing that I hear a lot is, well, I'm going to try to do it myself because I think I can make more money doing it myself. And we are a true multiplier of whatever they're making on their retainer programs, guaranteed, because either A, they're not charging enough for their retainers, B, they don't have a true retainer program. They're just onesie twosies replacing retainers. Or 3, they're not converting at the rate that our best practices are converting at. Now, we do have some doctors that aren't converting a lot, but it's because they're not listening to our best practices and implementing it in the way that we are suggesting they implement it. But we've got so many doctors that are just knocking it out of the park and literally are not making any retainers in their practice, which is pretty sweet.
I would suspect that most orthodontic practices don't like to get phone calls of like, oh, I lost my retainer and, I've got to come in and take up chair time and see somebody and now get a new retainer. Like, I would just guess. And I know a lot of practices say, well, maybe we don't get that a lot, or, we make the process easy because we have a team that knows how to do that. But still, I mean, you're talking about payroll at a large practice. This could be a full-time job, and so you're literally taking that completely off their hands, but it feels like the same practice probably to the patient because that's where they got this plan. And so it's just, you're an extension now of their practice.
Yes.
And then you're just pushing them back into the practice if they need to be retreated.
Yeah.
So it's like there really is no downside.
Everything that's patient facing is the doctor and the practice where they got care. And you're right. We're just an extension of that amazing doctor who you liked and you had a great experience with. And that's key, right? Because the trust factor is huge. I talk to the team about Amazon all the time. And why do we all love and order from Amazon? Well, the convenience, but the trust factor. If something goes wrong, you can return it or get your money back, or you can trust that they're going to deliver it when they say they're going to deliver it. And we want to be meeting those patient expectations, and orthodontists need to be meeting those expectations too.
Yeah, Amazon's good because I always go on and search by Prime, and then I'm going to get it in 2 days. So it's like you're buying certainty, and that's, I think, what consumers want, and they look for that trust.
Yeah.
So if somebody would like to know more, talk with you, what's the best way for them to contact Retainers for Life and further the discussion and just ask questions?
So we have 2 different websites. One that's designed for doctors to learn about what we're doing, which is afterorthorevenue.com. And then our patient site, if they want to take a look and just to sort of comprehend how it works for the patient, is myretainersforlife.com. And both of those have contact us buttons and live chat, and we are with you. Look, we try to answer any questions that we get literally within minutes. So we'd be happy to receive those requests.
I want to thank you both for taking the time to chat with me. I know this is going to add a lot of value and insight, so thank you both.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for having us, Luke. It was fun.
My pleasure. Yeah, definitely. Hey, did you enjoy this video? Click right here for another great video for orthodontist and dentist. We hope to see you there.